Okay, I've got another one for you guys. Tip of the day for today. With reference to form training, Taiji, Bagua forms, whatever, karate forms, any forms you do. Any forms which have the concept of large frame, medium frame, small frame. So doing the movements bigger or doing the movements smaller, essentially. Most places, most people you ask, think about large frame as being basic and small frame being advanced. Large frame being, it's pretty good, but small frame is better. And I want to tell you that that is totally wrong, and I completely disagree with that concept. It's actually the reverse of that. Not with regard to the advanced thing, but the better or worse thing. Your large frame form is better than your small frame form. All right, now what do I mean by that? Well, it's just better. But it's better. See, what is better or worse? You can't say that a Ferrari is better than a Kia Picanto. Is it better? Well, it's faster. It handles better. But the Kia has better ride quality. It's way more practical. It's far better for driving around in a city. Driving a Ferrari in a city would be horrible. So some people might say that's better, but actually it's not better. The only way you can say it's better is to tick boxes. If you can come up with a criteria of what something is supposed to do for you, and one ticks more boxes than the other, well, okay, you could technically argue that that one's better. So I don't really like to say that large frame is better than small frame. But if we look at it logistically, it actually is better than small frame. What do you get from small frame? You get internal development. You get chi flow. You don't get any real decent physical exercise because you're doing the movements all smaller, aren't you? Right? You're not opening the body, you're not stretching, you're not lengthening the muscles, you're not opening up the joints when you do small frame. But you're getting all that nice chi development. Okay? With large frame, you're getting all that physical exercise. You're opening up the joints and the eye instead of doing something like that. You're opening things up. You're feeling that nice stretch. You're mobilizing the joints and things like that. But you still have internal. You have a different internal to the small frame. So small frame and large frame, in terms of the internal development area of your practice, they're just different. It's a different sensation. I would never say that one is better or worse than the other. Whereas when it comes to physical exercise, I would say the large frame, it's better. It has to be better. You're physically opening up your joints and so on. You're moving your body. Now, on the other hand, again, it depends which boxes you've lined up to tick, because you could say, okay, but the small frame movement is better for teaching you about the realistic fighting applications of your form. So what do you want from your form? What do you want out of your form? Why do you practice your form? You need to answer that question before you decide should you be doing small frame or large frame. Now, of course, the best option is just do both. You can do both, not at the same time, but I might do large frame one day and small frame the next day. I generally don't start my form and think I'm going to do it this way or that way. I just start my form and let it flow how it wants to flow. Sometimes it wants to be small, sometimes it wants to be big, sometimes it wants to be fast, sometimes it wants to be slow, and so on. So what I mean when I say that actually large frame is better, what I mean by that is it's better for the majority of people. Some people will get amazing, great benefits from doing their small frame form. But the average person will be far better off doing their large frame. Because A, most people are not at a very advanced level, in which case you'll actually get more chi development. Most people anyway. Again, people are different. Some people might get more from one and less from the other. But generally, in my experience, people get more chi development when they actually do the movements a bit bigger. It helps to generate that flow. When they do it small, they're not really understanding where the movements are because it's too small to feel, kind of thing. So small frame should be kept for the advanced area of your training. It's way down the track. It's advanced form. But even when you get there, so we could say large frame is basic and small frame is advanced. But that doesn't mean that your large frame is negated once you get small frame. You start off, large frame can be basic or advanced, whereas small frame, in my opinion, can only be advanced. So therefore, if you are a beginner or even an intermediate, and this is why we have grading syllabuses and so on, and I'm in the process of revamping our one, just so it's a little bit more clear and straightforward as to where you should learn and when you should learn certain things. But essentially, most people out there shouldn't be looking at small frame form. If you feel you should be, if you feel you're at a level where your development has gotten to that point and you should be doing small frame and you do it and you enjoy it and it does something good for your body, then my advice to you is this: don't forget about your large frame. I've seen so many people, and it's sad when I see it, because they change their form, and 10 years prior they were doing their brush knee twist step really good and strong. Everything was aligned and feeling good. And then I see them doing their brush knee twist step like this. And it still looks nice, like it's got a nice element to it. It's got that nice little soft internal flavor to it. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, you've gotten something extra that you weren't getting in your large frame, but you've really lost a lot as well. You don't want to lose stuff from your training. So then I would ask said person, hey, can you just show me how you teach that to a beginner? Like, show me the full large frame. And they go from going, oh man, I'm so advanced, so good at Tai Chi. And then they go, oh yeah, basic form. Oh, hang on. And they're really struggling. They're wobbling and they're feeling pain in the legs. And you can always tell it when they go like this. I'll do it this way so you can see. You can always tell when someone's not very good with their large frame and their strength, because they might sort of fake their way through here, and then just at the end they'll kind of go, it's like, thank God for that. I'm back onto my front foot. I don't have to hold it up anymore. So if you feel like that in any postures in the form, that means you need to do more large frame, because you're doing too much small frame and you've lost all the strength in your legs. I used to watch Dad do his form, and he would do it mostly small frame, usually, but remember, he would then do things like the Pouchui form or the Bagua linear form. Other forms he would do large frame. So he's still got that balance. But if you only do one form, such as your Taiji form or your Bagua form, you've got to do that same form, both small and large. If you have several different forms you practice, then by all means you can do one of them always small and another one always large. I personally wouldn't agree with that myself. For me, I would prefer to do every form I do. I do sometimes small, sometimes large, sometimes slow, sometimes fast, because that way you learn everything there is to learn about that particular form. But yeah, when I would see Dad do the very small, super tiny frame form, it just looked, it had that real internal total softness, but I could still see strength there. There was always strength there. And whenever he would happen to be in a class and he would show something basic, he'd say, look, remember all you beginners out there, you should still be lifting the knee up and doing the correct posture, placing the foot with no weight, and he could still do those things. So he wasn't losing his strength. So what I'm saying is, don't do small frame at the detriment of your large frame. Don't lose your large frame. Don't forget about your large frame. If you're a beginner, don't even look at small frame. And make sure that if you are a beginner, you do the movements so that you are strengthening your body. Brush knee twist step is the best example, but anywhere through the form. Again, people will do brush knee twist step and they'll kind of go like, you know, don't quite get it up. Or they'll do the worst thing of leaning over to reach the knee. That's the big no-no. You've got to keep your body upright and bring your knee up to your hand. But even if they keep their body upright, and they might just kind of not quite lift it up or something like that. So essentially, instead of doing this, I'll do it facing you. Instead of being something like this, be like this. See how it's stronger? For a beginner. An advanced practitioner can take away those stronger physical shapes and still maintain power. A beginner cannot. So if you are a beginner, you want to make the shape strong when you do it. Anything you're doing, single whip, it's strong. That doesn't mean tense. It just means not like, it just means a little bigger. Like basically, I guess the rule would be do the movements as large as they can be done without, you know, making them silly, like without breaking the rules. So if I did this sort of grasping swallow's tail sequence, look, if I do this big as possible, big for a beginner, nice and strong, as opposed to, for example, this is not small frame, it's just smaller. Now the way I'm doing it now is not bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying if you're a stark beginner. As a beginner, you are more likely to learn correctly where the power is in a movement, where the structure is, where the connection is. If the movement is a little bit bigger, you're under a little bit more pressure, like your legs are a little bit more sunk. If I'm standing like this, I maybe won't feel how I'm supposed to shift from one leg to the other. But put the body down a bit more, without being silly, of course, and sitting down like this, you know, then that's too far the other way. It's, again, balance. It's a happy medium. But now, because the muscles are under that little bit more flexion, you'll begin to feel, oh, okay, yeah, which muscles are supposed to be engaging and where's the power coming from. Same with the arms. If I do it very soft, maybe I don't realize that I'm doing something totally wrong. If I do it bigger, I can feel, oh, yeah, okay. There's where the power is in the movement. So this is where large frame is so important. Don't rush towards small frame. Leave small frame for just when it starts to want to happen naturally. I never teach small frame. I only teach the form at large frame. Sometimes I might just say, oh look, why don't you just soften that posture off a bit? But I won't purposefully tell someone, stop doing it large, you should do it small. That's not necessarily good advice because their body should do it small. All you want to tell people is, if you feel like doing it a little bit smaller, let that happen. As long as it still feels strong when you do that. But if you go from a move like this, and it feels strong and solid, powerful, both physical and internal, and then you go to a smaller move, and it still feels all of that stuff, then great. But if you go to that smaller move and you feel like nothing's happening now, well, you're not ready for it. You're not ready to do it in that smaller sense. Have a play around with those ideas, guys.